Thanks for joining us here on Focus on Africa from BBC World News. We begin with two regions with a deeply entwined history. Based on the transatlantic slave trade, Africa and countries in the Caribbean are very close. And lately, steps are being taken to focus on building on these historical ties, particularly through events that commemorate the devastating slave trade. One area that definitely needs strengthening is the economic ties between both regions. Stronger trade ties between both regions have been discussed since the 1970s, including through the Organization of African, Caribbean and Pacific States, but actual trade volumes have remained stubbornly low. The most recent figures on international trade come from 2017, when Africa exported just $258 million worth of goods to the Caribbean community countries, importing $449 million in return. One of the main issues is largely down to the lack of travel between the two regions, but also due to financial constraints of mostly very small Caribbean economies. Well, Morocco has had an embassy in St. Lucia to cover the entire region since 2015, while Nigeria and South Africa have missions in Jamaica and Trinidad and Tobago. So are things about to change? Well, the African Caribbean Trade Investment Forum is currently taking place in Barbados and seeks to do just that. I've been speaking to the director of the Africa Import-Export Bank, Yusuf Daya, and asked him what this forum seeks to achieve.
I think it's massive in terms of the number of people. We've targeted 1,000 people. I believe we've exceeded that target, if I'm not mistaken. But I think more than the size of it, I think the historic significance of it being the first of its kind trade and investment forum between Africa and the Caribbean is what makes this truly seminal event in the history of cooperation between the two regions.
And what are you hoping to get out of it?
Is to try and build bridges between Africa and the Caribbean. You know, Africa and the Caribbean share shared history, very similar cultures, traditions, similar challenges economically as well. And we believe that as the world has evolved, particularly post-COVID-19, there's a need to expand cooperation and opportunities and trade and investment between the two regions. There are lessons that could be learned from each of the regions, and we believe there are immense opportunities to strengthen collaboration.
You talk about these immense opportunities. If you look at what both regions have to offer each other in terms of agriculture, they're basically about the same. You know, what else could you be doing to grow trade between, you know, CARICOM, that's the Caribbean countries, and Africa?
Well, currently, the trade between the two regions is quite negligible. I think total bilateral trade is probably in the region of $1 billion annually, and heavily concentrated in minerals and chemicals, and also heavily concentrated in terms of the geographies that trade with each other, largely Southern Africa and North Africa trading with the Caribbean region. We believe that the Caribbean region provides an immense opportunity as a gateway to both North America and Latin America, a $27 trillion economy that can provide opportunities for Africa to tap into, particularly given the integration under the African Continental Free Trade, and equally for the Caribbean economies into Africa, which is now integrating a market of 1.2 billion people, and also the fastest growing market globally.
And how much of a draw is this newly established African Continental Free Trade Area?
I think it's a major draw. It integrates a market of 1.2 billion people, collective GDP of over $3 trillion. It provides opportunities to access markets, not only for investment, but for trade, and to take advantage of economies of scale in what I said, the fastest growing population in the world, fastest growing market in the world.
And you and I know that it's one thing to sign these agreements at these conferences and at these seminars. It's another thing to implement any agreements that are reached. When do you think that this summit will start to bear fruit?
I think it will start to bear fruit quite soon. In fact, from the bank's perspective, we wish to follow up this engagement with a mission, dedicated business missions, to try and unlock those opportunities, to bring Caribbean businessmen to Africa and to bring African businesses to the Caribbean, to try to create real tangible results and to see business come out of it.
That's Yusuf Daya, the director in the Africa Import-Export Bank, speaking to me from Bridgetown in Barbados.